The Thames Valley Branches route is the second DLC made by Incredible Trains. It was made for Train Sim World 6 and presumably its sequels, and released on Steam, Epic Games, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 5 on July 21st, 2026. At full price, it is half the price of a normal route add-on at £15 UK. This route has 3 separated, completely unconnected branch lines, with route hopping to the Great Western Express Remastered route required to travel between them, with 13.5 miles of track in total. The branches are from east to west, Slough to Windsor and Eton Central, which is 2 miles long and has no intermediate stops, Maidenhead to Marlow, which is 7 miles long and has intermediate stops at Firs Platt, Cookham and Bourne End, and Twyford to Henley-on-Thames, with intermediate stops at Wargrave and Shiplake. This route is set in the same time period as the Great Western Express route, so around 2016 to 2017, during electrification of the Great Western Main Line in preparation for the Elizabeth Line, or Crossrail as it was known then. On a personal note, whenever I've been in the UK, I have stayed in Marlow and used the branch to it innumerable times, and I have been on the Windsor branch twice. However, as I've never been on the Henley branch, I cannot confirm how accurate the scenery is on that line. Many people wondered why the Greenford and Heathrow Airport branches weren't included with this route. The reason stated by the developer is that neither branch in this time period had fully self-contained services, with services from Heathrow and Greenford continuing to Paddington. The branches to Windsor, Marlow and Henley all had and still have self-contained services. However, at a point since 2017, a bay platform has been added at West Ealing, allowing for self-contained services on the Greenford branch. Also, some people wondered why this wasn't just an extension to the Great Western Express route, but unfortunately GWE was built in the very early days of TSW, using methods that made future extensions completely impossible. The only rolling stock included with this route is the GWER Class 165 Networker Turbo, supplied in a 2-car formation. This model wasn't new to the game, having originally appeared as a 3-car Class 166 with the Great Western Express route, which was released in September 2017. When Grump Dog Games remastered the GWE route in February 2026, the Class 165 was added to the game, but this was done by adapting the Class 166 model without prototypical changes. The 165 that comes with this route has gotten these necessary changes, including a rebuilt interior, improved physics, working circuit breakers compatible with the train fault system, and livery designer support. To help you gauge how accurate the in-game 165 is to its real counterpart, here is a comparison at Marlow Station, both including 165119. The first clip was taken in-game, and the second clip by me on July 13th, 2026. There is one timetable included with the route, with 286 services playable. The vast majority of those services, 274 of them, are done using the Class 165 that this route includes. These have 5 different service patterns, which are end-to-end on the Henley branch, end-to-end on the Windsor branch, off-peak end-to-end on the Marlow branch, peak from Marlow to Bourne End and vice versa, and peak from Maidenhead to Bourne End and vice versa. The reason peak time services on the Marlow branch are set up this way is to allow services to run every 30 minutes, with 2 trains running on the branch, and passengers wanting to go the whole length of the branch having to change at Bourne End. The aforementioned inaccurate Class 165 from the Great Western Express route layers into all of the included 165's services, with both the first Great Western and GWER versions usable. The British Rail Freight Class 37/5 from the infamous West Cornwall local route adds 7 services to the route, with 5 of them being top and tail rail tour services on all the branch lines, using the West Somerset Railway Mark 1 coaches, and 2 of them being shunting manoeuvres at Maidenhead to get the rail tour into position. The daytime services are inaccurate, as rail tours do not operate on the branches in real life during times when normal passenger services are running. However, you can switch these services off in the layer selector. Weirdly, the Class 20, which is its own add-on but was originally made for the Tees Valley Line route, appears as a static layer in a siding at Slough. As far as I know, the choppers haven't run on the Great Western Main Line in years. If anyone knows why this appears, please let me know down in the comments section. This can be switched off as well in the layer selector too. Rolling stock from the Great Western Express route appears as AI at Slough, Maidenhead and Twyford, representing Great Western Main Line services going off the map. According to the developer, they tried to line up the AI services to match what can be driven and seen on the Great Western Express's 2017 timetable. Also, special HST liveries from the HST Farewell Pack by Grunt Dog Games can appear as AI as well. Finally, the upcoming Freightliner Class 70 and Wascosa MLA wagons being developed by All Aboard Studios will layer into the timetable to represent late-night engineering services, which will be playable. However, that add-on is yet to be released at the time of this review's production. The scenery is where this route both shines and falls flat. The foliage and terrain details are generally amazing, both from quality and accuracy standpoints. To take one example, on the Marlow branch, it sometimes feels like you are driving through a foliage tunnel, which is accurate. In real life, those areas have branches scraping down the side of the train, and presumably doing the paintwork no good, which isn't modelled in the game. On the Marlow and Windsor branches, the general feel and ambiance almost exactly matches that of the real lines. Some notable features are the murals on the Crescent Footbridge in Maidenhead, this railway bridge over the River Thames at Bourne End, the Bourne End Marina, the Marlow Donkey Pub just northwest of Marlow Station, this big viaduct coming into Windsor, the station building at Windsor and Eton Central, Windsor Castle, and this park next to Henley Station. A few interesting new features implemented are birds on the track that fly away when the train approaches them, sprinklers on golf courses in summer, animated boats on the various rivers, brighter and more varied autumn foliage colours, parallax windows to add building interiors, and a fully functional and realistic token system on the Marlow branch. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are large glaring issues with the terrain, including this floating garage at Wargrave, this floating path next to the Thames River at Bourne End, this pedestrian bridge you can fall straight through nearby next to the railway line, this floating speaker at Maidenhead, which is also a bug on Great Western Express, this very low quality Hawker Hurricane 3D model at the Sydney Cam Memorial in Windsor, the Windsor and Eton Central Station area appearing unfinished in places, and numerous roads and paths leading up to bridges that are floating in midair. The developer has confirmed in the Dovetail Discord server that they are working on a patch to fix these bugs, but how these very obvious issues got past the quality control department seems to be a mystery. The mastery layer goes in this empty spot at Windsor and Eton Central, which is a replica of a GWER Achilles class locomotive, which is realistic for that location. However, the mastery currently doesn't show up in the main menu, making it impossible to complete at the moment. Now, here is a comparison between the game and real life in the Marlow Station area. Unfortunately, the large row of trees next to the station in the game have since been removed, but not too much has changed other than that. Route hopping to the Great Western Express route is available at Twyford, Maidenhead, and Slough. Guard mode refuses to give me tickets when I play in conductor mode, but to be fair, that is not Incredible Trains' fault, that is a Dovetail problem. On a happier note, train announcements, train faults, temporary speed restrictions, and dynamic suspension have all been implemented properly, and I was unable to find any problems with them doing my testing for this review. However, I do have one minor nitpick with the announcements. At Cookham, Bourne End, and Marlow, the real announcer says, "Change here for the Thames Path National Trail," which aren't represented in-game. I raised this directly with Johannes of Incredible Trains, and he said that implementing those announcements wasn't possible due to limitations with the in-game announcement system. There is a lot to like in this route. The scenery and foliage details are very good. The new features like birds add to the immersion, the upgrades to the GWER165 are excellent, and the general ambiance is spot on to the real lines. Performance on my old computer is also excellent too, with the frame rate being a stable 55 to 60 FPS, with almost no stuttering. The full price of £15 as opposed to the normal 30 is an added bonus. My only real problem with this route is that it can get boring very quickly, with very few variations in the surfaces that can be done. The unrealistic rail tours and static stock present can also lower the realism if you don't switch them off manually. The main problem with this DLC that needs to be solved is the aforementioned numerous terrain bugs that need to be fixed. How this add-on even made it to the stores with such glaring issues is beyond me. To wrap up, this is a pretty solid route from Incredible Trains. The scenery, foliage, new features, and included stock are all excellent. As a bloke who's ridden the Marlow branch line many times, this really is a dream come true for me, with the functional token system being the icing on the cake. If the terrain had been properly built, tested, and checked, then this would have been an almost perfect score from me. However, due to the terrain issues, I can only award this route a relatively high 8.5 out of 10. Hopefully the developer will be able to fix those issues soon. My next review will be on either the Freightliner Class 70 or the Tadami line, depending on which one is released first.